A new year of racing is ahead of us.
Over the next 12 races, we'll find out which of the 24 drivers will keep their eyes on the prize and take the championship trophy. The most competitive lineup in motorsport will go head-to-head on unique city street circuits around the globe.
It's the fastest growing racing series in the world, with the most dramatic and unpredictable racing you've ever seen.
The future is electric. The future is now. This is ABB Formula E.
In this episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into the opening doubleheader weekend of the season in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia.
Alexander Sims victorious for BMW.
Getting to know our drivers a little better.
I think Seb doesn't like me.
And meeting one of the people that helps bring Formula E to life to the visiting crowds.
But first, let's join Audi Sport App Schaeffler driver Lucas de Grassi on a journey to one of the world's most polluted cities to learn about the race for clean air.
New Delhi is the most polluted capital city in the world. The air quality is so bad that living here is equivalent to smoking 10 cigarettes a day. As a Formula E racing driver, mobility entrepreneur, and UN climate ambassador, I want to understand why things are so bad.
Lucas travelled to Delhi and met up with journalist and environmental campaigner Bahar Doot.
So Lucas, I wanted you to meet Shanti. She's a rarity. She's a female mechanic.
Well, very pleasure to meet you. Tell me a little bit the story that brought you here.
अपनी कहानी क्या, जो हस्बैंड थे ना हमारे, वो काम करते थे, उनके साथ हम भी करते थे काम. हम लोग कर लेते थे, मियाँ बीवी दोनों ही काम करती थी. और हमारे जो हस्बैंड ख़त्म हुए ना, उनको भी सांस की बीमारी हो गई थी. मिट्टी नहीं जाती थी मुंह में.
What about your health? How do you feel?
स्वास्थ्य में देखो, ये उठना बैठना, इनमें जोड़ों में दर्द होना है, सांस लेने में दिक्कत होती है.
The aim is to innovative technologies bring the cost of transportation down, and at the same time we decrease the amount of pollutants.
आप कर सकते हो, ऐसी बात नहीं है, आप कर सकते हो. क्यों? आप में हिम्मत भी है, पैसा भी है, तो आप लोग कर सकते हो. गरीब आदमी क्या करेगा? अगर उसको अभी इस टाइम पे अगर 2 रोटी मिल रही है ना, तो उसमें उसको तसल्ली है.
So I think it's really important in the air pollution conversation to also bring in social issues and how it affects the poor. As environmentalists, we're suggesting don't do this, don't do this.
And if technologies they don't make for a cheaper, more efficient way of, in this case, transporting goods, it will not be accepted by this population. But if it is cheaper to operate, people will start using it.
Despite these huge challenges, progress is being made, starting with the most common vehicle on India's roads.
So, this is a tuk-tuk, right?
Yes, it's the e-rickshaw as we call it.
And this is electric, right?
Yes.
How much it cost, one tuk-tuk?
Around $2,000.
He didn't choose an electric tuk-tuk because electric. He chose because the best cost-benefit for him.
But despite more and more clean vehicles on the road, conditions are still amongst the worst in the world for Delhi's poorest citizens.
Okay, Lucas, this is a typical community which would live by the roadside.
You have your family, do they have a lot of problems with respiratory?
कभी-कभी ऐसा हो जाता है, सांस सा फूल जाता है. खांसी का इस लड़की को भी हो जाती, कभी-कभी मेरे भी हो जाता है. ये लोहे का काम करते हैं, छेनी, हथौड़ा, गैंती, फावड़ा.
She's saying there's smoke not just from the cooking, but also they're a blacksmith community.
Wow.
One of the big causes of air pollution is open kitchens like this, and the fact that also their occupation involves ingesting a lot of smoke.
Yeah, actually the cooking is the worst than even the vehicles.
पढ़े लिखे तो है नहीं, जैसा टाइम पास हो रहा है वैसे ही कर रही है. कोई हमारे बच्चे ने पढ़ाते ना को और कुछ ना.
I just put myself and my son in this position, and it's a humbling experience, and you feel so sad just because you cannot do anything about it. There's so many people in such a poor condition.
Lucas took to Instagram to share some of the data he collected in Delhi, recording hazardous levels of potentially dangerous PM 2.5 particles.
We'll continue to follow Lucas on his journey later in the show as he meets the people trying to make a difference to Delhi's air quality.
Another city that struggles with air quality is Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, but it's embracing the new emission-free technologies behind Formula E as it hosted the opening doubleheader weekend of the season. Let's take a look at some of the stories that developed in those opening 2 races.
Porsche on the podium in their first race in ABB FIA Formula E.
On an already exciting debut weekend, Andre Lauderer's second-place finish in round 1 meant the Tag Heuer Porsche Formula E team became the first ever new team to score a podium finish in their debut race.
Despite this success, they also discovered that consistency is key in the ABB Formula E Championship, with no other points on the board from the weekend, leaving them in 6th in the team's championship. In contrast, Mercedes-Benz EQ had a vastly more consistent weekend.
Their year of racing with HWA Race Lab paid dividends as they took home a 6th-place finish from rookie Nick de Vries and 2 podiums courtesy of the more experienced Stoffel van Dorn.
E3, well done.
What a debut race.
Mercedes head into round 3 in Santiago on top of the team's championship. Will they be able to convert the technical know-how behind the scenes into consistent race results and hold on to the top spot? Only time will tell.
BMW I Andretti driver Alexander Sims was also on form in Diriyah and took pole position in both rounds of the doubleheader weekend.
This means he's the first ever driver in Formula E to claim 3 pole positions in a row, and the first person to take the top spot on the grid in the first 2 races of the season since 2015.
Alexander Sims victorious for BMW.
Sims took his first ever race win in round 2 and will be looking to continue his run of great form. Can he and BMW avoid a repeat of last season?
What are you doing? They hit each other, the Costas in the wall and the lead is gone.
And bring home the championship?
As we've seen time and time again, it's tough to stay at the top of your game in Formula E. And this was proved again in Diriyah when only 4 out of 24 drivers scored points in both of the races.
One of these was Eduardo Mortara, who, having previously only finished 1 out of the last 7 races, took his first points since he won round 5 of last season in Hong Kong. A 7th-place finish in round 1 and a 4th-place finish in round 2 means he's not only 7th in the Drivers' Championship, but he is also Venturi's all-time top point-scoring driver with 99 points for the team.
A particularly tough weekend was had by rookie Nico Müller for Geox Dragon Racing, who failed to start in round 1 after a crash in qualifying before a puncture took him out of the race in round 2. Müller was the only one of the 4 rookies who failed to score points.
There was misery for the Mahindra team as they also struggled across the weekend, with Pascal Wehrlein qualifying and finishing outside of the top 10 in both races.
Jerome D'Ambrosio qualified well on both days, but failed to convert these promising starts into serious points.
He dropped from 6th to 9th in round 1, and after qualifying in 3rd for round 2, failed to make it to the final starting grid.
Whilst ABB Formula E was in Diriyah, we caught up with the drivers to find out a little bit more about what makes them tick.
I get along with Nico really well. He still is my teammate in DTM for the last 2 years.
Sebastian, I mean, we're teammates and we go back a long way from Red Bull days, and we even shared an apartment together once upon a time, so yeah, he's a good buddy.
Mitch, Antonio, Lucas, I also get along with very well.
Antonio, Felix Acosta, Stoffel van Dorn, Daniel Abt.
Jerome, Andre, pretty much the guys that lives in Monaco, so we kind of see each other once in a while.
Mitch, Robin, I've raced them in the past couple of years in different series as well.
It's a friendly paddock, but at the same time, everybody wants to beat each other.
Most guys in Formula E are capable of attacking pretty well, so I'd say everyone.
If I see a Neo, it means I'm not doing so well.
If you have Jeff in the mirror, then you know that something will happen, which is a good thing.
It has to be a driver or can be my wife?
Probably Sebastian Buemi. He's my teammate in the WEC, so don't want any awkwardness.
If I go by last year, probably Lotterer. He was always the one that kind of was closer to the back end of others. When we saw Jev and Lotterer as teammates, that was pretty interesting.
There's not really one stepping out of being reckless or dangerous. You know, everybody does their mistakes, try to go for overtake which is not there, and it happens.
Lotter can be very reckless and aggressive, seems sunbird.
Apart from me, maybe Robin. He's not afraid to have a go, and he'll put it all on the line to make things happen.
I don't think you'll see many cars coming back after the race completely clean without any bodywork hanging off or any damage.
Like Oliver Rowland sometimes, like he can be a little bit, aggressive, let's say.
But I think if you look at the statistic last year, Sims had a few crashes in the races, so I'd name it.
I think Seb doesn't like me, but I'm not sure. Sometimes he's quite nice to me, and sometimes he acts as if I'm the last person he wants to see. But I don't know. You have to ask him.
I think I don't need to answer that one.
At the start of last season, I had a few issues with Felipe. Obviously made contact in Santiago and then a couple of other things.
I'm sure there are some that probably dislike me, but I don't tend to dislike anybody. Friendly kind of person.
How can you not love Sam Bird? In this episode, we've been following Audi Sport Ab Schaeffler driver and United Nations Clean Air Ambassador Lucas de Grassi as he explores Delhi, the world's most polluted city.
Okay, Lucas, we have to climb up a building today because there's something I want to show you. This is a sight to behold. It was meant to be a landfill, it's now a mountain.
It's the biggest mountain of trash I've ever seen in my life.
There's 3 more.
We have 4 of those,
Yes.
and the amount of production of garbage per day is?
Would be around 11,000 tons per day. And the poorest of the poor will end up there with their bare hands, picking up some of the garbage to recycle. The really poor people are exposing themselves every day to this hazardous waste. Remember, landfills also release methane. So that's combustible, that catches fire. And again, all the people here, you're saying, they're inhaling all that. So the levels, just imagine how high it must be, even on an average rainy day.
Elsewhere in Delhi, there is an office building that is using some innovative techniques to improve its air quality.
No indoor place will ever have CO2 less than outdoors because human beings give out huge amounts of carbon dioxide. But here, because of the plants, the CO2 levels are lower than even outdoors. There's zero artificial light.
This is sunlight?
Pure sunlight. So the entire spectrum of the sun's light for photosynthesis is coming through here. The vacuum tube, so you touch it, it's not hot because of the vacuum tube and the mirrors which concentrate the sunlight through into this room. You see those leaves moving over there?
Yeah.
The air is coming through a mechanical filtration system. All the particulates from outside, all the gases are removed. The plants are getting that air. They're doing their magic, making oxygen and reducing the carbon dioxide levels.
Yeah.
They're also removing the microbiological pollutants, the bacteria and viruses, and the plants become even healthier because of that. And so from the other side then, it gets pulled out of this room and then goes into every air handling unit in this building. So every person in the building gets a little slice of the greenhouse, a little slice of the
fresh air.
Of the fresh air.
Very nice.
This is the golden pothos, which is also called the money plant in India. Very easy plant to grow, and it's great at removing formaldehyde from the air. The Sansevieria, it's an indoor plant which gives oxygen at night and removes carbon dioxide at night. Then you put lots of these in the room and your carbon dioxide levels can come down.
What is the bottles for?
We're a zero waste facility over here. So all the waste is taken, the dry waste is separated, the bottles are taken, and we make planters out of them.
So fresh air, fresh the water, zero waste. After coming to this building, I feel very bad. I need to improve my standards. It's basically a human right to be able to breathe clean air. And what has been done here, what is incredible is that it is a full circle, and then this is so easy to be implemented. If it could be done here, it could be done anywhere.
Back at home in Monaco, Lucas took some time to reflect on his journey and the things he had seen.
It's very different when you have a life like this. It's very easy to say, okay, let's fight air pollution or this or that, but when you go there and you see the reality and see that the problem is so much more complex, I think the adoption of electric cars will change society for much better, but we cannot just regulate and mandate people should drive electric cars. It will need to be cheaper than current technology, so it's accepted. It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter which country for, how much money you make or who you are. I think you should be trying to make society better. There is a duty for that, for them.
The future is certainly worth fighting for, and it's important that drivers like Lucas do everything they can to spread awareness of the issues we face.
It isn't just the drivers and the teams behind them that make ABB Formula E great. It takes a lot of people to make it one of the most exciting and engaging sporting events in the world. When we were in Saudi Arabia, we caught up with one of the people who makes it extraordinary.
I'm Sausan Saad, a sports TV presenter and the official Arabic presenter for Formula E. Being a presenter, especially in sport, it's not an easy job to do. You are there for 16 hours in front of the camera, meeting so many people and working with them daily for rehearsals, for script writing, for the order of what you're gonna do and what you're gonna say and how you're gonna interact with the audience, with the camera, with the live feed, with the earpiece in your head, and all this information about the drivers, the history, the numbers. What I love is sports, so what I do for a living is sports presenting, and I love it so much. I'm gonna be super busy in the race day for Formula E. We can't wait to welcome each and every fan. I'm gonna interact with them directly, personally. There's so many activations, surprises. I got to interact with the fans, with the audience. I give them the information in their language. Because when they watch me, they want to know more about what's going on, all these technical people, all the commentators are saying very technical, difficult information, but when they look at me as a presenter, like them, a normal human being, talking their language, they feel like, oh, she's our friend actually, she's not a presenter, she's giving us just information to know, and they interact with me freely and naturally. So what I love is giving the information and letting people be aware of the motorsports. Sports in Saudi Arabia is growing super fast. We have lover and passionate people about motorsports, especially cars. And what about e-cars, which is the future of the motorsports? So the fans are really super excited, and the most important thing about the fans being around them is they are there with their family. The small kids, the teenagers are there, even the whole family members are there. It's really amazing.
It's a big team effort to put on a Formula E event, and it's cool to take a look at it from the inside.
The ABB Formula E wouldn't be here without an amazing driver lineup. Let's find out a little bit more about the stars of our show.
For me, the hardest part of the day is probably qualifying. Having that one lap nailed with the hard competition.
You go to FP1, you do FP2, and then you go qualifying. It's very close to each other. But then if you have like a crash, or you will miss FP2, or you will miss even qualifying sometimes.
Yeah, literally no time between the sessions to really analyze everything.
The engineers and drivers have to be very on it with the feedback and very quick to make changes for the next session.
If you're well prepared, somehow it feels like you have a bit more time during the day.
The moment you start moaning and complaining and things like that, then you know, it just goes wrong from there.
It's about instincts. You've been trained for these moments all your life, and then if you start thinking about it too much, it's already too late.
Well, actually try to not think. I think that's what makes a move successful or not.
I try and decide where people's weaknesses might be. It hasn't always worked. I think Hong Kong last year was a prime example of that.
They nudge! Lotter's got damage!
Flat tyre!
Lotter's got a puncture!
You never put yourself in a situation, or try not to put yourself in a situation where you could cause an accident, because that's when it all kind of goes downhill.
Generally, there's not a lot of thinking going on. You really go on instinct, and you just gotta grab that opportunity, because it might never come there. I don't know. I need to actually have a look to all the.
There are some really strong defenders like Robin, Jev, Antonio.
You have always a lot to lose, a lot to gain. Sometimes a lot to lose, not so much to gain. So everybody's making these calculations, even if they're not aware they're doing it. I think Jeff is hard to overtake, but also Roland is hard to overtake. He's both. He's super aggressive.
I mean, you got to be the team player always. That's for sure. But as a driver, you also want to win it. So ideally, I would just get both.
We have to do well for the team, but then of course, depending on the situation, we might do things differently.
I think the drivers' championship is much more important than a team's championship, and I think even the team will not be mad about that, because that's what people talk about most in the end.
Certainly some interesting opinions from our drivers there, who I'm sure are just as excited as we are to get back to racing. Next up on the calendar, we are heading back to Chile and the capital of Santiago. It was the scene last year of one of the hottest races in Formula E history, and the soaring temperatures made for some extra spicy racing.
For Envision Virgin Racing driver Sam Bird, Santiago will feel like home turf, and he'll be looking to repeat his success from the last time we headed to Chile, where he stormed from 4th to 1st to take his first win of Season 5.
Yes, guys! Come on!
He currently sits 3rd in this year's championship after a roller coaster start, winning the opening race of the doubleheader weekend, but crashing out the next day in round 2. Another driver who enjoyed some success in Chile last season was Sebastian Buemi, who secured pole position after a perfect lap. However, he'll be hoping he improves on the last visit's race result by staying out of the walls and scoring some much-needed points to put himself into title contention, as he has had a miserable start to the new season, scoring 0 points in the opening weekend.
But that does mean he'll be heading out for qualifying in the favourable Group 4, and considering that track evolution played a big part last time in Chile, he'll have the best chance of repeating his pole-setting success.
Mahindra Racing driver Pascal Wehrlein will also be heading into round 3 with 0 points so far this season. He will be looking to make a similar impact as he did last year in the Santiago race, where the fast young German made himself one to watch with a great qualifying performance.
Pascal Wehrlein takes his best ever position on the grid.
He then went toe-to-toe with 2 of the most experienced and successful drivers, Bird and Buemi, throughout the entire race, securing an impressive second-place finish in his 2nd ever race. Will he go one better this time out and secure his maiden victory?
BMW Andretti's Alexander Sims will be looking to extend his record-breaking streak of pole positions to 4 in a row. However, the current championship leader will have his work cut out for him, as he'll be heading into the tricky qualifying Group 1. Last season, he managed to stay out of trouble in Chile and scored good points in a chaotic race, which saw over 1/3 of the grid succumb to the heat and retire before the checkered flag could fall. Will he be able to work his qualifying magic once more and secure pole again? Or will he have to fight his way from the back of the grid to keep himself at the forefront of the title race?
We'll be bringing you all the action from Santiago in the next episode of Street Racers.
And keeping an extra close eye on Sims, as he'll be our special guest host. You won't want to miss it.
And just before we go, Formula E recently announced that K-pop superstars BTS have joined the series as global ambassadors and will be bringing the electric revolution to more people than ever before. Way to go, guys! Now that really is it, but we'll be back soon, straight out of Santiago.